happens, then I mean, this is free speech and free thought, and the idea to have your own opinion. And it really, it's amazing, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you for saying that. I really thank you so much. And too, we get people in my stuff sometimes who are not on the same aisle as us, and then a lot of us have come to agreements. Like I say all the time, and you guys, if you listen to me, you've heard this already. We start having conversations about things we really care about. That's how we can come together. A lot of times, there's people we clearly have way different kind of profiles, and then we end up following each other by the end of the night. So I appreciate you for saying that. Mr. HT, please go ahead. Then Romeo. You have an accent on the E, so if I'm saying that wrong, please let me know when we get to you. And then Aaron.
Well, I didn't have a lot to say. I was kind of piggybacking off the young lady that said she had to go to work. I don't remember her name, but and what you were saying about the vaccine, that's a good argument. It should even be brought up in Congress. Why are they regulating marijuana but not the vaccine? And marijuana has been here for years. It's grown here on the earth, but this is a vaccine that has just been released like a few months ago.
Preach, brother, preach! Oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
have me so excited. Yes.
People are losing their jobs because
Yes.
they are uncomfortable with taking an experimental vaccine that has been here for a few months. But you'll get fired, for you can get randomly drug tested for marijuana, anything like that. You can be with a company for 30 years and get fired for marijuana.
Yep, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. And then you
yeah.
have to think about these things because y'all think, oh, this is just a vaccine thing. No, they've been doing this. They've been doing this and finding ways to scare people into not liking
Which
certain
if
things.
let me say this clearly. If you want to take the vaccine, that's your business and all that. I believe you have freedom of choice, but it should be with all of it. And you heard my argument at first about marijuana, but still, um, people should have a right to choose what they want. That's their business. Even God is not forcing anyone to do anything. So when you step in God's arena, then that's dangerous for you and for a country too, government.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much, Mr. HT. You've been here the whole time. He's actually the first person to hop on this space. We're new friends. We met on Spaces. So while we're having these conversations and you listen to speakers, check out their profiles. Follow them. They may give you some great information. Like I said earlier, share. Everyone who's listening, share. Tag me. I'm about to go check my notifications now and see who tagged me so I can repost those who invite people to come in here. We're gonna go Romeo. If I'm saying it wrong, we can laugh at me. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Romeo. So
So
I
I
guess
messed it up. I'm sorry.
no, it's cool. So I guess I was more so saying like, obviously I think that regulations need to kind of exist for most things, but I think like historically, as somebody had mentioned earlier, regulations I feel like they're not always really as benign as they're meant to be or whatever, as benevolent. I think it's more so like even just the how weed first became illegal. Prohibition was because black people and Mexicans were smoking it and stuff, and the
And
disproportionate
women. And women.
and the disproportionate prison system, and then the war on drugs that disproportionately affected colored people, even for just nonviolent weed offenses, and then how now that weed is becoming legal on state levels, they pretty much make the barrier to entry unbelievably high levels of capital that statistically in a country, as I mentioned, that economically holds down colored people. I guess only usually typically white people would have that amount of. I mean, what if you need like $50,000 of liquid capital just to fucking open up a dispensary in Nevada? That's just Nevada. I don't even know about Cali and
Is
other
that why
places.
hoes are
You know what I'm
dead?
saying? So it's like who has that? Obviously not statistically not the black people that were held back. So I don't know. I just think it's just, and then the fact that like these bigger companies you'll see on boats, they get caught with like keys of coke and like wasn't it on like something like Chase boat or some shit that like they had the biggest buster ever? I don't know. I just think it's all a conspiracy and that these regulations really aren't as what they're being sold for. It's more so to hold ethnic people back rather than like actually care about society. Because if they did, they wouldn't sell fucking alcohol and poisonous cigarettes. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Hey,
So I
and
actually
hey,
think,
hey, one
Romeo,
second.
that the reason that marijuana is so
Panda,
illegal is because everyone would get along and be more peaceful. That is just a conspiracy theory that I've come up with, but I stand firmly behind it. So I'm with you on that.
And Panda, 1 second. So, you guys, so when I said earlier, why did they make it illegal in the first place? So, he just brought some points. It targets different groups of people. So when there's different kind of, when we talk about crack and cocaine, there's different laws for those. And then if you look at statistically who are using those particular drugs, they have different kind of rules for them. So historically it has been, and it's still, those laws are still in place. They were to target a particular group. The president of the United States at the moment, the regime, the guy who stole the election. I'm sorry if you're listening, you don't agree with me, but I'm gonna tell you that his son Hunter Biden has been caught smoking crack. He does crack, but Biden is the one who put the crime bill in place in the first place, and it locked up a lot of black people. But and I think that it was definitely to target a community, but also it's a class issue, because if you're in a particular class, political stance, then you don't get in trouble. You're literally looking at you smoking, on the TV screen, on my phone, and you're not in prison because you're a Biden. Absolutely not okay. Go ahead, Aaron.
All right, so let's be clear. I'm a kid who's never done any drugs, hardly drinks, hardly does anything, white suburb of Texas. And the fact that we still think that stuff like marijuana should be illegal is hilarious. I have watched kids smoke weed, sell it to them at retail levels, every night in a retail gas station by college, asking for $10 cash back and a cigarillo. You think I don't know what you're doing? They know exactly what's going on. Nobody stops them. It goes on all the time. Half my employees smoke weed. Half my family smokes weed.
Wait,
everybody does it. So what are we regulating right now? We're not stopping it.
Aaron, are you drug testing your employees?
No, I'm not drug testing my employees. They flat out know. I know what they do. As long as it don't go and work, when it shows up at work, I fired 2 of them. So the thing is it's about responsibility. It's what the British lady was saying earlier. It is about personal responsibility. Prohibition was meant to stop things so that they could control stuff. That's all it was for. And I will take a little bit different aspect than Romeo here. I will disagree on the basics of the race. That is slightly correct. I will agree, like the crack cocaine, 100% that was meant to hit the minority situation. But I'm a white male business owner that can't get a dime from the banks. Why? Because the middle class is always going to be the problem in the system. It's not... I don't believe in systemic racism. What I believe is that the system is meant, and I kind of mentioned this the other night, Donnie, the system is meant to keep the rich people in power. And yeah, that's a lot of upper elite rich white people. 100% always has been, always will be. The problem is they don't like me standing up and running for office right now any more than they like a Hispanic, a black person, an Asian. They don't want anybody to challenge their power structure, plain and simple. There are plenty of rich black people getting away with murder right now, doing all kinds of crap because they're within the elite status now. And once you get to that status, you get to break the rules. If you gave me the money, what did Toys R Us go bankrupt with $1 billion? Why don't you hand me like a couple million, and let me see what I can do with it. I promise you I can turn that into a lot more money. But they don't want anybody to challenge the system. And so weed is just one more thing. I think most people that smoke weed are going to be pretty laid back. I had a police officer one time who used to be on the drug enforcement, and he was on patrol, and I was like, that's weird. Why are you on patrol as a veteran of the police department? He goes, every night, that I arrest a drunk driver on the road, I save lives. He goes, all those years that I was going after potheads, he goes, I never saw them murder a family of 4. And so that's the problem is the distortion is, especially in the South, is it's the Bible Belt, it's the Christian way. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad. That's all I was ever told, right? Don't do drugs, kids. Dare, all these things, all the crap that they tell you, right? And the fact is, you can't control what people do. And every time you make it more illegal, you create an additional element that makes crime
He has
increase.
the green dot
It causes all
church.
kinds of problems. Yeah, you know, and I think what Constitution's point earlier was this, Donnie, is that what he saw is that they left the weed stores, right? The marijuana, all the cannabis stuff. They left those open. Why? Because it allowed those people to go in there, and it made them care less about what the government was doing to them. And I think that's what he's saying. Is his point is that shouldn't have been essential if other things weren't, because the only purpose that he saw in that was basically it was to control the people. It was like, hey, go smoke weed. You won't care that we're taking away your freedoms. And that's why I think he said he was waking up to that. It's like, oh crap, that's what they're using it for.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that's what the government assumes. That's what the outcome would be. But I wanted to remind people when I said that you know, nobody can tell you your business is not essential, because it is essential. You're feeding your family, your employees' families. That's your business. It's not the government's business. Yeah, definitely. I get what you were saying, but I just wanted to remind people that like every business
He's
is essential.
hallucinating.
It's
Agreed. I never
necessary.
shut my business down. They wouldn't have shut me down. They'd had to put me in jail. So, yeah, no. You know what? I was sort of
He's
starting to want to run for
delirious.
office when they started messing with my business. I was like
Because
begging
weed's
them
a
to come arrest me so I could get on TV. Being like, oh, yeah, look, they arrested a business owner. Ah,
Why don't you smoke crack
I
cocaine
mean,
like
you know,
I
Shelley
do?
Luther.
I know. Yep.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would do Shelley Luther to me, yes.
But don't go
Good
anywhere, please.
snowflake.
Yeah, hold on.
Check out his profile. 1 second.
Why don't you
Okay,
smoke
I
some real
just
stuff instead of that
it can work. So
fossil weed?
By the way,
That's
Freddie
all they
McDowell,
be saying.
Lieutenant Governor of
When
Texas.
they say rape,
So
they're just
rude.
saying a
I'm so
fraud.
sorry.
That's a
I didn't
falsehood.
mute didn't work. Sorry.
They all know that's a
So,
falsehood too.
I'm highly
It's a
embarrassed right
falsehood
now.
too.
Go ahead, R.
That's a statute of limitations. It's just a falsehood. Falsehood.
Go ahead.
Waffle
Because I said your name
false.
wrong and I already forgot, and I just burped and I'm really embarrassed. So please go ahead. Your hand was up.
Andrew Romeo. Okay, yeah. All right. So, obviously, in the grand scheme of the world, that there is always going to be a class struggle. But this is, and I don't want to, you know, cause issues. This is something that W.E.B. Du Bois wrote about profusely. Is that I don't want to be blunt, but Caucasians tend to not realize that, you know, these two things can exist at once. There can be the overall class issue as well as the race issue. When We the People was written, they were slaughtering Native Americans and giving them money for it, people that look like you. And they had people looking like me as slaves, giving them no money to build the country for people that look like you, to get loans, put us in the ghetto. War on drugs,
Wait, 1 second.
prison, all these things.
Hey, 1 second.
That is the
1
reality.
second.
It's not.
Sorry, I don't want to mute you. 1 second, because I want you to jump into a bunch of points on that. If we're gonna keep using, you know, because we've had issues across the world historically forever, regardless what race you are, religion, they've done things like that. And I will say, if we're going to say that white people that look like you, which is a kind of a personal attack, if you don't feel like it is, it kind of really is a personal attack on someone because they've never done those kind of things. And just because someone's like, oh, a black guy like robbed my bank, so they look like you, so I'm gonna follow you through the whole store or the bank or wherever you go because I saw other black people do it. So I want you to understand too, like black people did it too. Like black people had slaves. White people were lynched as well. Was like 1/3 or 1/4 of them were lynched. So they tell us history. That's why if you are like anti-Republican and they're so anti-critical race theory, a lot of it is been designed to divide us. And like I said, I do believe, like I said earlier, they do target communities and want them in jail and prison. They do. And they have. But it also depends on what local government you're being ruled by. Because not every place, every person felt that way. We have white people who died fighting for, you know, to get rid of slavery. Regardless of necessarily what their true intentions are. We have the discussion on another space. But at the end of the day, they were fighting the war against slavery. And the white people died, black people died, everyone did. The whole thing is when they tried to do this whole race divide is so that we don't like each other, we don't trust each other, we don't want to talk to each other like we are talking today. So I just want you to think about that too, because I do believe there are different, oppressions, and I think that everyone is oppressed because if they make it a law, if they want to go after a white person, Asian person, anybody, they can use that law to do it. And just because they are targeting a particular group doesn't mean they won't target someone else who they don't like or doesn't have money or the representation or the money for bail. Because this is also a target on poor people, and poor people are not all black. And if you think that all black people are poor, then you're racist. But go ahead, R. R. You dropped the emojis. Open your
Hey,
mic.
real quick before he does that, I just want to point out one thing about that conversation. I am actually Irish background, and if you know your history, Irish were barely above the black population when we came to this country. So always remember that. And what Donnie just said is accurate. This is about uniting the people against the government. This isn't about me being white and you being black. And you weren't in the last call that I was on, Romeo, but if you heard me last time, I said, Mark, they killed MLK and they killed Malcolm X for the same reason. And as a white man, I was told Malcolm X was a bad dude. And when you really research it, Malcolm X is about where I'm at right
Sir,
now.
you need
So
proof of
just because
income
I'm
to
white
speak
and I grew up in
with
the
that
suburbs
way.
don't mean I don't agree with you. That's the questions. We need to stop talking about race. We need to start focusing on what our values are. What are our values? And my values are get the government the fuck out of my life. That's my values.
All right. Listen, I understand.
There you go.
We're not
I
at
didn't mean to attack or
Arthur's
anything.
table.
Once again,
No, I just
Around
wanted to make you
tables.
clear because you don't know who I am either. So there you go.
I'm coming
I'm
off.
not saying you're attacking people. People can take it that way, R, because people have used that kind of narrative to attack
Sorry,
people and call them
sweetie.
racists and white supremacists. So you may not have heard that yourself, because we're not all the same. The media just tells us what we're supposed to believe, but a lot of people don't pay attention to the media.
They're from
So
Half
that's
Baked,
been
babe.
used before as a way to attack white people. So that's why I said
We
that.
need their
Sorry, go
IDP
ahead, please.
for
Go
our
ahead,
tax.
R. Then
I feel like, listen, like, I'm not, all right, so I just want to have two quick points I'm going to make.
It's a mark of the
Well, I guess I
devil.
wanted to say one, like, Aaron, like, I definitely want to see, people doing good for the country. I'm like, once again, it was not really an attack. I guess I feel certain ways about things, and the way I see it is like, the people who owned slaves, they got reparations.
They're
We
all
didn't.
talking to him.
They got economic capital and ability to get loans. We got held back, yada yada, and that's built into the national system. As a matter of fact, Haiti owes like billions of dollars to France. You know what I'm saying? But those same people got billions of dollars from the country
Why didn't
for
he get
owning
it?
human beings,
Longer.
and that is like
That's
literally
right.
built into the economic capital of the planet. Like, did you know that like African countries are still paying money to France right now for colonialism, but it's supposed to be gone? Like, this is a reality. This is not some sort of like, and I feel like, and to sit up here and like be blind to it is to not really address it. But I understand at the end of the day, we do need to have solidarity against the people who really control everything, because racism was created as a tool, but it just really works really well. I don't know, whatever. My fault. I'm gonna stop talking.
No, you're good. R,
Did he just dare
no, 1
you?
second, Panda, 1 second. R, you heard of the phrase called the 40 acres and a mule? Yes or no?
No.
You have not. Okay. So there's always this like little meme or discussion about 40 acres and a mule. So during the Reconstruction era, the Union Army actually was communicating with the black ministry, the black leaders, and they were trying. It's kind of like now when you have like sex trafficking slaves, and you're trying to figure out a way to make them get back them in society and everything. So during the Reconstruction era, they're trying to figure out how to do that and to give previous slaves land and opportunities. So they came up with 40 acres and a mule. So the mule is if there was one available. Not everyone got a mule, but they were getting 40 acres. So once they assassinated Abraham Lincoln, his VP was a Democrat, and his VP allowed the previous slave owners to take their stuff back. So there was an attempt at one point to get our reparations. It was not like America did not try. It did. And if you don't know about 40 acres and a mule, then you may not have been taught that history. And like we have, most of us, I think, in this call understand that it was Democrats versus Republicans when it came to the Civil War. And the Democrats are the ones who are claiming they want reparations for people, but they're the ones who stopped it initially. And you have to know that and understand history. And my co-host, please go ahead. But Shehab and Bono have had their hands up for quite some time. And we
No,
have some
on-
requests.
on the subject
Chris
you're
Evans
just
did
touching
that
on, I don't
too.
want to go down that road, but I have a book that I think should be part of the high school curriculum. It is a very painful book to read, but it literally breaks down how the United States was built
Is that Stacy
and how
Cook
it
again?
built against all of us. And it is a class system, and it's called The New Jim Crow. It's one of the best books I've ever read. I cried the whole time I read it. Everyone should read it. It is amazingly written, and it breaks down a lot of what we were just talking about as far as the hot
Oh,
button
that's that
agenda,
nasty
or
on the
whatever
world.
you want to call it. It's an amazing book. Everybody should read it.
Thank you. Can you put in the comment section and I'll add it to the nest? Then we're gonna go with She-Hop. I think I may have said that right. And then Bono, and then Mr. HT.
Yeah, she had. Hi, how are you doing? How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Thank you. Go ahead.
I hopped in here because I'm Twitter friends with Romeo, but I also grow a bunch of weed. I've grown a bunch of weed for a very long time, so I came to talk about that. Yeah, I completely agree. That
Stacy first. It's